September 28, 2023, near Kreminna, eastern Ukraine. Russian artillery is hammering a tree line where fighters from the Azov Brigade are attempting to reinforce a battered defensive position. Drone operators overhead are spotting movement. Mortar rounds are falling closer with every minute. Then, an armoured vehicle emerges from the smoke. It's not a modern Western IFV, it's not a Leopard tank, and it certainly isn't the kind of vehicle most people would expect to see surviving one of the deadliest battlefields on Earth. It's the British FV-432 Bulldog Mark III, a vehicle so old that many military experts considered it obsolete years ago. A vehicle with a boxy shape, limited firepower, and an appearance that some Ukrainian crews jokingly described as silly. Yet among many of the soldiers riding inside it, the Bulldog earned a very different reputation: Guardian Angel. Because despite its age, this British armoured personnel carrier kept bringing men home alive. So what exactly is the FV-432 Bulldog Mark III? And why has an armoured vehicle designed decades before the internet become one of the most respected battlefield workhorses in Ukraine? The story begins long before the current war. The original FV-432 entered British Army service during the 1960s. At the time, militaries around the world faced a growing problem. Infantry needed protection while moving across increasingly lethal battlefields filled with artillery, machine guns, and shrapnel. The solution wasn't always a heavily armed fighting vehicle. Sometimes soldiers simply needed an armoured taxi, something capable of carrying troops safely to the fight and bringing them back afterward. That was the mission of the FV-432. Simple, reliable, and surprisingly adaptable. Over the decades, the vehicle served everywhere from Northern Ireland to Iraq and Afghanistan. While newer armoured vehicles came and went, the FV-432 continued evolving. The Bulldog Mark III represented one of the most significant upgrades. But why upgrade such an old vehicle instead of replacing it? Because the basic design had one enormous advantage: it worked. The Bulldog received additional armour, improved protection against roadside bombs, upgraded electronics, and better survivability features, while retaining the rugged mechanical simplicity that soldiers had trusted for decades. The result wasn't glamorous. It wasn't fast. It wasn't heavily armed. But it could absorb punishment that would destroy lighter vehicles. And on modern battlefields, survivability often matters more than style. That's exactly what Ukrainian forces discovered. When the Bulldog arrived in Ukraine, some crews initially viewed it with skepticism. Compared to sleek, modern armoured vehicles, the Bulldog looked almost awkward. Its tall, box-like profile seemed completely out of place in a war dominated by drones, guided missiles, and precision artillery. But appearances can be deceptive. The vehicle's thick armour gave troops protection against artillery fragments, small arms fire, and battlefield debris that kill far more soldiers than direct tank engagements. In many sectors of the front, the greatest threat isn't another armoured vehicle, it's shrapnel. It's drones, it's indirect fire. And that's where the Bulldog excels. The vehicle's strength has never been winning tank duels. Its strength is keeping infantry alive long enough to reach the battlefield. That distinction matters, because a vehicle doesn't have to destroy enemy armour to become indispensable. Sometimes, its most important job is making sure soldiers survive the journey. Of course, the Bulldog isn't perfect. Its age creates limitations. Its mobility can't match some newer Western designs. Its protection isn't comparable to a main battle tank. And its weapon systems are relatively modest by modern standards. Yet those weaknesses reveal something important about why the vehicle continues succeeding. The Bulldog was never designed to be a hero. It was designed to be dependable. And reliability is one of the most underrated qualities in warfare. A vehicle sitting in a repair yard contributes nothing to a battle. A vehicle that starts every morning, carries troops where they need to go, and survives repeated combat missions becomes priceless. That philosophy explains why crews often prefer rugged simplicity over cutting-edge complexity. In Ukraine's brutal conditions, where maintenance facilities are stretched and replacement parts aren't always available, a vehicle that can keep operating under harsh conditions becomes enormously valuable. And that brings us back to the Azov Brigade. When soldiers call the Bulldog a guardian angel, they aren't talking about technology. They're talking about trust. Trust that the armor will hold. Trust that the engine will start. Trust that the vehicle will get them into the fight and hopefully bring them home afterward. The nickname may have started as a joke. The vehicle may have looked silly. But battlefield reputations aren't built on appearances. They're built on survival. And after decades of service across multiple wars, the FV432 Bulldog Mark III has earned a reputation that many newer vehicles never achieve. It isn't famous because it's the most powerful armoured vehicle ever built. It's respected because it consistently does the job it was designed to do. In Ukraine's deadliest battles, that simple British APC has proven something military history teaches again and again. The vehicles soldiers love most are rarely the flashiest. They're the ones that keep them alive. And that's why the Azov Brigade doesn't just see the FV432 Bulldog Mark III as an old armoured personnel carrier. They see it as their guardian angel.